When we were discussing marriage, I came across Gavin's diary from when he was 16. She's so fat, yet she likes me. It's disgusting. I got a girlfriend, hoping she'd give up and stop looking at me like that. The diary entries stopped abruptly on May 13th. That was the day I ended my career as a weightlifter to save him. I vaguely remembered, during our freshman year in college, Gavin asked me, "Would you be my girlfriend?" When I said yes, he looked so relieved. I thought we were in love. But as it turned out, it was nothing more than him wrestling with guilt for years and finally deciding to repay his debt. I suddenly felt it was all meaningless. So, I broke off the engagement and left his house. A few months later, on a chilly summer night, he waited in his car downstairs from my place. When he saw the man beside me, his eyes turned red. "Who's he? Is he your boyfriend?" The summer night carried a hint of coolness. Gavin hadn't spoken a word since stepping into the house. I sat on the couch, feeling a bit uneasy. Gavin's mother held my hand, signaling for me to relax. She turned to him and said, "If you don't want to settle down, just say so. It's been 7 years, do you even want to get married or not? Ruth's patience is the only reason she's not rushing you. She loves you, but that doesn't mean you can do whatever you want." Her cheeks flushed with anger as she continued, "I can't believe I gave birth to someone like you." I gently patted her back. "It's really not urgent." "How is it not urgent?" She turned to me. "This boy has ruined your life. If he doesn't take responsibility, I won't let him off the hook." "I just don't get it. What exactly does he want?" The sound of a lighter flicking open and shut filled the tense air. Gavin remained cold and silent. When his mother finished, he let out a scoff, raised his head, and said, "Fine, let's get married." He stood up. "Arrange it however you want." Without looking at me, he strode upstairs. I felt a tightness in my chest, lowered my head, exchanged a few words with his mother, and hurried after him. The sound of running water echoed from the bathroom. Gavin was taking a shower. I sat on the bed, staring absent-mindedly at the floor. "Do you not want to get married?" The water was too loud for him to hear me. When it stopped, he opened the door, wrapped in nothing but a bathrobe. "What did you say?" His hair was damp, and water dripped down his sharp features, trailing across his chest. My cheeks flushed red. I stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. When Gavin changed clothes, I closed my eyes and counted sheep. Only when his large hand patted my head did I open my eyes. "I'm done. You can look now." He was fully dressed, squatting down to meet my gaze. "What is it you want to say? Do you not want to get married?" "No." He looked away, stood up, and began tidying his dirty clothes. "Don't overthink it." But I knew Gavin was lying. He didn't want to get married at all. I wanted to say we could postpone the wedding, or that I wasn't in a rush, but the words caught in my throat, leaving only a bitter ache. I couldn't stay in the room any longer and made an excuse to leave. "I'll go to bed now, okay?" He grabbed my hand, frowning. "You want to sleep in separate rooms?" Lifting my face with his hand, he asked, "Are you crying?" "No. I've already agreed to everything you wanted. What more do you want me to do?" His frustration boiled over, his face cold. "If you want to make a scene, then go ahead." In our 7 years together, Gavin had rarely spoken to me so harshly. But in that moment, perhaps overwhelmed by the pressure of marriage, he didn't bother hiding his emotions. I froze, feeling like a clown-stripped bear. He didn't look at me again, opened the door, and left. The faint scent of his body wash lingered, a reminder of everything that had just happened. After that night, neither of us brought up what happened. Nor did we mention postponing the wedding. But Gavin became quieter. Even when it came to choosing the wedding dress, he showed no interest. He was often busy until late at night. When I messaged him, his replies came hours later, "I'm busy." He didn't come home for his mother's birthday. Everyone laughed and tried to lighten the mood, but we all knew it was Gavin expressing his resentment toward her. I ignored the uneasiness in my heart, pretending nothing was wrong, forcing myself to smile. A few weeks later, I woke up in the middle of the night to find Gavin staring blankly at his phone. "Why aren't you sleeping?" I tried to sit up, but he quickly put his phone away. "Go back to sleep." But in that split second, I caught a glimpse of his screen. It was a photo of 17-year-old Gavin with 17-year-old Sharon. I turned my back to him, feeling as if I had fallen into an icy abyss. The memory of one of his friends sneering at me years ago surfaced in my mind. So what if he's with you? You'll never compare to Sharon. Fat pig. Back then, I thought if I just held on, Gavin would eventually fall for me. He would love me someday. But now, the naked truth stared me in the face. It felt like needles piercing my heart. He had never forgotten Sharon. The facade I had been maintaining crumbled in an instant. I suddenly didn't want to get married anymore. I wanted to leave Gavin. After making that decision, I agonized over when to tell him. Gavin's mother had always been kind to me, treating me like a daughter. It was precisely because of her that I struggled with how to break the news gently. I postponed my wedding dress fitting, using work as an excuse. After college, I started working at a media company, handling celebrity marketing and strategy. Gavin wasn't happy with my job. It required long hours, sometimes even meetings at 2 a.m. So when I said I was busy, he didn't question it. In fact, he seemed relieved. But Gavin's mother didn't take it as lightly. She thought I was upset and scolded him fiercely. When I got home, she had just finished her call, her eyes still red. She grabbed her bag and pulled me along, saying, "Don't worry. I'll take you to find him and make him give you an explanation. What kind of person prioritizes returning home over being there for his fiancée's wedding dress fitting? He's lost his mind." From her words, I realized Sharon was back. No wonder Gavin had been so distracted lately. No wonder he seemed relieved when I said I couldn't make it. No wonder. Sometimes, when you're utterly speechless, all you can do is laugh. Gavin's mother was startled by my reaction. She hugged me tightly. "I know you're hurt, but don't worry. I'll stand up for you." "Auntie," I gently pushed her away. "Please let me handle this myself. I'll take care of it." I went upstairs, dazed, and stood there for a while. As I fumbled in my bag for my phone, its contents spilled onto the floor. I crouched down to gather them, then leaned against the bed and called Gavin. The phone rang a few times before he answered. The background noise was chaotic, making it hard to hear. "What is it? Where are you?" He fell silent for a moment, then let out a cold laugh. "What, are you checking up on me?" He moved to a quieter spot. Ruth, do we really need to go this far? First my mom yells at me, and now you're calling too? I already said I'll marry you. Isn't that enough? Where are you? I repeated. My fingers dug into my palms as I struggled to stay composed. OT on the desk. I was about to grab it when my gaze fell on a nearby journal. Sometimes, it feels like you're hit by a sudden premonition. Like when the teacher's about to call your name, and you know you're in trouble, before it even happens. That's how I felt now. I knew I shouldn't open it. I knew it wasn't mine to read. But my eyes were glued to it, and I couldn't look away. The moment I opened the journal, I held my breath without realizing it. August 29, 2015. A new girl moved in today. My parents said she's an athlete and that she'll be staying with us. She smells like sweat all the time. So annoying. I remember that sweltering day vividly. I arrived at his house, carrying bags of my belongings. My parents and Gavin's mother had been close friends for years. That summer, I joined the weightlifting team, and they arranged for me to transfer schools so I could train more conveniently. Gavin was the first person to open the door for me. He wore a crisp white t-shirt, his hair neat and clean. He took my bags without hesitation and carried them inside. "I'm Gavin," he said, turning back to me. "What's your name?" "Ruth," I replied nervously. He smiled and placed my bags in the room. "Your room's all set up. If you need anything, just let me know, and I'll ask my mom to help." Back then, he was polite and gentle. I stood there awkwardly, watching him, and felt something soft and warm settle in my heart. Never in my wildest dreams did I think he had seen me like that. November 5, 2015. I think she looks at me weird. Could she actually like me? She even gave me a handmade stuffed toy for my birthday. Eric wanted it, so I gave it to him. Gave me chills. January 3, 2016. I hate it when people tease us together. March 7, 2016. She actually confessed to me. Unbelievable. Does she think she's the heroine of a romance novel or something? How long is it going to take for her to move out? My throat felt thick and sticky, as if I couldn't swallow. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages of the journal. When I first moved to North City, I didn't have any friends. At school, no one talked to me except a few athletes. Most of the time, I was on my own. But Gavin, he looked out for me. He remembered my period schedule, stood up for me when others mocked me, and even bandaged my injuries. It was only natural that I fell for him. So even when I realized he didn't love me, even when I decided to leave him, I never regretted falling for him as a teenager. Back then, I didn't have much money. My crafting skills were terrible, but I spent weeks learning how to make that stuffed toy. I tore it apart and remade it repeatedly until it was perfect. At his birthday party, I felt everyone's eyes on me as I handed him the gift. I was so embarrassed that I wanted to take it back. But Gavin accepted it, carefully placing it back in the box. "Thank you. I really like it," he said with a smile. I believed him. Even when Eric sneered and mouthed "fat pig" at me, I let it slide. I never cared how others saw me. My mom always said, "Save your feelings for people who treat you well." And Gavin treated me well. That was enough. 17-year-old me never imagined that the gift I poured my heart into would be handed off to Eric, who tossed it into the trash outside. I never understood why Eric hated me so much. Later, I realized it was because I wasn't pretty. That was all it took for him to be cruel. But back then, I thought Gavin was different from everyone else. I had no grand illusions about my feelings, just a simple, innocent crush. Yet, because I wasn't beautiful, I was branded as gross. When I confessed to him, I stuttered so much that I could barely string a sentence together. He smiled gently the whole time. "Thank you for liking me, but I'm not planning on dating anyone right now." What was he really thinking in that moment? April 9, 2016. I started dating someone. Hopefully, she'll get the hint and stop looking at me like that. I couldn't help but laugh, a bitter sound that caught in my throat. For the first time, I realized how ridiculous and worthless my feelings were. But he could have told me. He had so many chances to tell me. If he had just said the words, I would have stayed away. Why did he go out of his way to be kind, only to write such cruel things behind my back? The last entry in the journal was dated May 13, 2016. That day, Gavin had been harassed by some thugs. They wanted money, and he refused, so they started a fight. I stepped in to shield him and ended up getting hit so badly that my hand was permanently injured. I could never lift weights again. After that, Gavin broke up with Sharon. She went abroad shortly after, and they lost touch completely. In college, I started paying more attention to my appearance and managing my weight. That's when my relationship with Gavin truly changed. Maybe he felt indebted to me. Or maybe it was the dim lighting that night. He suddenly held my hand and asked, "Do you still like me?" I was too nervous to look him in the eye. He cupped my neck and leaned down to kiss me. It was my first kiss, tasting faintly of mint. On the first day of our relationship, Gavin took me to his mother. "We're together now," he told her. He looked so relieved, as if a heavy burden had finally been lifted from his shoulders. Looking back now, I finally understand. What I thought was love was just him repaying a debt in his own misguided way. When I arrived at the address, Gavin was playing pool with Eric. His face was like ice, and he didn't say a word. Eric, as usual, was stirring the pot. "Sharon's back. You might as well break up with her already. Don't tell me you're actually attached to her?" Man, I still remember the first time I saw her, so chubby, holding that stuffed toy she gave you. "Can you shut up?" Gavin snapped, putting down his cue stick. Just as he was about to say something, the door swung open. Everyone froze. Gavin's eyes flickered with panic for a moment before he composed himself. I handed him the file folder. "Here's what you asked for." "Thanks," he said, hesitating as if he wanted to explain. But then I pulled out the journal and handed it to him. "Is this fun for you?" My voice cracked as I struggled to hold back tears. "Was it fun, Gavin?" I threw the journal at him with all my strength. He didn't move, just stood there, his eyes clouded with panic. He reached out as if to grab my shoulder, but Eric stepped in and shoved me hard. "What's wrong with you?" Eric barked. Without thinking, I slapped him across the face. "I'm talking to Gavin. Stay out of it. For years, every time you see me, it's nothing but insults, fat pig, ugly. Aren't you tired of saying it?" "Because I'm tired of hearing it. So what if I was a weightlifter? Gaining weight for my career is nothing to be ashamed of. Who are you to look down on me? My parents never judged my weight or my looks, so what gives you the right? You're like an annoying fly that won't go away. If someone didn't know better, they'd think you liked me, the way you're always buzzing around." I was shaking with rage, my eyes red. Eric stood there, stunned, unable to respond. Gavin hugged me tightly. "Calm down. I'm already calm enough." I shoved him away, grabbed the diary off the floor, and yanked him over to look at it with me. The more I read, the paler Gavin's face became. He murmured, "Let me explain. We're done." I smiled coldly, glaring at him. Just thinking about all of this makes me sick to my stomach. Without looking back, I turned and walked away. Gavin tried to chase after me, but I stopped him. "If you're coming after me, is it because you want to marry me?" He froze in place, not daring to move again. I walked away step by step, until I disappeared completely from his sight. After confronting Gavin, he avoided me at home for the next several days. Everyone in the house could sense something was off, but no one dared to ask. The first person I told was my mom. When she heard the news, she wasn't surprised. She asked, "Do you want to come home?" "I need to think about it," I replied. I haven't told his mom about the breakup yet. No matter what happened between me and Gavin, his mom had always been genuinely kind to me. I didn't want to hurt her. Besides, leaving my job here wasn't something I could do overnight. Starting over always takes courage. After hanging up the phone, I stared at myself in the mirror for a long time. Maybe it's because of my job, but I'm constantly surrounded by attractive people. Over time, I've grown more conscious of my appearance, and now I've become one of those pretty girls people talk about. As I looked at my reflection, I thought about the old me. The girl who used to squat with her knees bent, gripping a barbell, practicing weightlifting day after day. That person felt further and further away, replaced by the polished, meticulously groomed woman who clocked in and out of her city job on time every day. I looked better now. But I wasn't as happy as I thought I'd be. I missed the days when I could wear sportswear and no makeup, living a carefree life, not this constantly tense urban girl lifestyle. Life's biggest decisions often happen in a single moment of clarity. That evening, I made a full dinner. I didn't want to be like Gavin, someone who drags things out. And I knew I had to be the one to bring up the breakup, or Gavin's mother would never let it go. After finishing our meal, I spoke up. "Gavin and I broke up." Before she could respond, I added, "I was the one who ended it." Gavin's mother's eyes turned red immediately. I held her hand and rested my head on her shoulder. "I know you care about me, but relationships can't be forced. I just don't love him anymore. I've decided to resign. I already submitted my resignation letter today. Once I finish my work handover, I'll go back home." I smiled at her. "If you miss me, you're welcome to visit." Gavin's mother couldn't say a word. She just cried and held me in her arms. After a long while, she finally choked out, "It's his fault. If I had known earlier." "I'm so sorry." I comforted her for a long time before she reluctantly accepted the truth. Gavin only found out I was leaving half a month later, on the last day of my job handover. I'd booked a 10 a.m. flight home the next day. He knocked on my door, his voice hoarse. "Can we talk?" Time really does dull emotions. By then, I no longer felt the initial pain, just an emptiness I couldn't describe. "There's nothing to talk about." I forced a small smile. "Don't worry, we're parting on good terms. I won't badmouth you to your mom, and she won't pressure you anymore." "That's not what I meant." I opened the door. Gavin stood there, disheveled and exhausted, as if he hadn't slept properly in weeks. "When's your flight tomorrow?" "I'll take you to the airport," he offered. "Suit yourself." With that, I closed the door. The next day, Gavin did take me to the airport. I didn't refuse. After all, it was the last time. Out of respect for his mom, I didn't want things to end too awkwardly. When we arrived, he handed me my suitcase, but wouldn't let go. After a brief tug-of-war, I lost patience and glared at him coldly. He dropped his gaze, guilt flashing across his face as he finally released the suitcase. "Keep in touch," he mumbled. I scoffed, then turned and walked away without looking back. Before boarding the plane, the first thing I did was block Gavin on all platforms. A clean break was the best outcome for us. When I got home, the first thing I did was sleep for 3 days straight. Life in my hometown was slower, much slower than in the big city. After the wedding was called off, my relatives didn't ask too many questions. They just gently encouraged me to go out and enjoy life. A few weeks later, they started trying to set me up with new men. My mom had to plead with them to stop. Over the years, I'd saved up quite a bit, around 300,000 yuan. I locked most of it in a fixed deposit and used a small portion to invest. An old high school friend, Nora, was starting a social media venture. When she heard I was back, she begged me to join her. Her idea? A street interview friendship show. Basically, we randomly interview strangers. If they're open to making friends, they can write down a few traits about themselves, and we pass that on to the next person. If the two sides are interested, we arrange for them to meet. I'd been thinking about what to do next, and her idea instantly resonated with me. I transferred 50,000 yuan to fund our new project. Nora squealed with joy, hugging and kissing me. With us teaming up, we're bound to hit it big. I couldn't help but smile, feeling both amused and hopeful. Maybe it was because the idea of a fresh start excited me. Whether we succeeded or failed, the new journey felt exhilarating. We began planning our filming schedule and equipment. Our first shoot was at a university, where we interviewed a few students, but the response was lukewarm. We switched locations to a primary school, and this time, things went more smoothly. Interacting with kids always felt easier, less stressful. After filming, we decided to grab dinner. Suddenly, Nora grabbed my arm. "Look, a hottie." Under the shade of a tree, a tall man in a black suit stood with his hands in his pockets. He had a broad, athletic build and striking features, and it seemed like he'd been watching us for a while. When he saw us looking, he jogged over, his face slightly flushed. "Is this a matchmaking platform?" he asked, holding out his phone. Then, meeting my gaze, he said, "Can I get to know you?" Ding, my phone buzzed with 2 texts from an unknown number. One was a photo of Gavin holding hands with Sharon. The caption read, "They're together now." I didn't even need to guess who sent it. Disgusted, I replied, "Are you pathetic?" After hitting send, I blocked the sender. Noticing my sour expression, Nora whispered, "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Just ran into an idiot," I muttered. Then, looking up at the man in front of me, I quickly clarified, "Not you." He chuckled and waved it off. "I know." He handed me his phone again. "So, can we get to know each other?" "My name's Derek." After exchanging contact information, I returned home to find my mom hesitating to speak. It wasn't long before I discovered the truth: meeting Derek wasn't a coincidence. We were actually middle school alumni. I dug out my old graduation photo from a box and searched through it several times before finally matching today's Derek with the scrawny boy in the corner of the picture. Honestly, I had no recollection of him. My mom teased, "Maybe he had a crush on you, and after all these years, you two meet again and fall in love." I laughed. "How many romance novels have you been reading?" After what happened with Gavin, I wasn't about to indulge in another case of wishful thinking. I opened the profile picture of the new friend I added today. So, we were middle school classmates. He started typing, deleting, then finally replied. "You don't mind, do you?" "Why would I?" "Then let's meet up often from now on." A moment later, another message came. "I don't really have any friends here." Over time, Derek would randomly pop up, and eventually, he became a regular helping hand for us. He had a great personality, cheerful, kind, and full of energy. He could strike up a lively conversation even with an 80-year-old grandmother. As for my mom, she adored him. She once bumped into him and insisted on dragging him home for dinner. I whispered to him one day, "You're not quite the same as the first time we met." He didn't get it at first until I pointed out how he went from a polished suit-wearing man to a laid-back, youthful college guy. He scratched his head and gave a sheepish smile. I thought first impressions were important. And now they're not? He leaned in slightly, his eyes bright. Now, the second impression matters more. I've never been a fan of the polished corporate type. I also didn't want to date anyone. When I realized Derek's feelings, I told him directly. That day, he drove straight to my apartment building. Look outside. Derek was holding a balloon, slowly letting it drift upward. I reached out to grab it and noticed a note attached. Then how about being my first friend in the city? Please? We held on to opposite ends of the balloon string. The night was silent. Moonlight bathed the man standing below my window. He seemed nervous. It felt like every moment I hesitated was a countdown to his doom. I tied the balloon to my window and texted him. Hello, new friend. Derek smiled. 2 months later, Gavin messaged me. He had a new phone. I blocked him, but he kept switching numbers. Once, I accidentally answered, but he said nothing. I'd had enough. Can you stop bothering me, Gavin? His voice was hoarse. My mom misses you. When will you come see her? The mention of Gavin's mother softened my heart. Lately, she'd occasionally sent me money, probably worried I was unemployed and struggling. When I didn't accept, she began sending me health recipes instead. When I first moved in with them, she used to cook for me constantly. She was the one who stayed up all night to care for me when I was sick. I couldn't be cruel to her. And because of that, I couldn't hate Gavin entirely either. Noticing my softened tone, Gavin pressed on. Or should I pick you up? Aren't you back with Sharon? I cut him off. There was a moment of silence on the other end. I sneered. Is this how you treat all your girlfriends? Keeping one in hand while eyeing another? Gavin. I took a deep breath. Do you realize how despicable you are? After that night, Gavin went quiet for a long time. I thought it was the end of our story. But then I ran into Eric in this small city. Derek and I had just left the university town. A black Maybach pulled up in front of us. The moment I saw that familiar face, my smile vanished. You've got a new boyfriend? Eric sneered. Do you even know what she used to look like? Before he could finish, Derek's fist flew toward him. Startled, I gasped. Eric fought back. Someone called the police, and because it was a mutual fight, they both signed a settlement agreement and left. Eric, nursing his bruised face, spat angrily on the ground. I walked up to him and grabbed his collar. What's your problem? He smirked, then laughed suddenly. Yeah, I have issues. So what? He reached out as if to touch me, and I immediately let go. Eric brushed off his shirt, then said with a mocking grin, Gavin and Sharon broke up. He still can't get over you. I came to tell you in person since texts don't seem to do the job. And you, ungrateful as ever. He leaned closer, his grin widening. Don't know a good thing when it's in front of you. I stared at him blankly. Eric, finding no amusement, walked off. I grabbed Derek's hand, and though he looked briefly stunned, he soon held on tightly. I just wanted to leave as quickly as possible, not noticing Derek's flushed ears or Eric's suddenly cold expression. Hey! Eric called after me, his tone complicated. Why not get back with Gavin? I promise I won't badmouth you again. Get lost. A few months later, I sent Gavin a message for the first time. Can you control your dog? Anger must have clouded my mind because that night, I dreamed of high school again. The broad, powerful figure that always drew whispers wherever he went. Teenage malice often came without reason. They pushed him around, taunting. Dare to kiss her? Are you looking for a fight? Whose is bigger, yours or hers? Once, after returning from the restroom, I saw a girl with her shoelaces untied. The troublemaking boys in class were ogling her neckline with lewd expressions. That look disgusted me. I stomped on one boy's foot hard. He hit back, but Gavin caught his fist midair. Pinning the boy against the wall with one hand, Gavin coldly demanded, "Apologize to her." That day, even the sunlight seemed to carry a faint scent of fresh grass. The feeling of falling for someone came without warning. When I woke, my pillow was wet with tears. It was only 2 a.m. I got up to pour water but heard noises outside. Opening the door, I saw Gavin leaning against his car, cigarette butts scattered around him. The cold wind made his pale face look even thinner. When he saw me, his unfocused eyes gradually cleared. A second later, I shut the door again. Back in bed, I received a message. About Eric, I'm sorry. I've cut ties with him. He won't bother you again. After some hesitation, he added, Sharon and I broke up. Gavin stayed in the city for a while. Every time I went downstairs, he was there. When I came back at night, he was still there. I ignored him. So did my mom. People need self-respect, but you can't stop a dog from guarding a house. Then she added, not even his house. During this time, the content creation work I was doing finally started gaining traction. I could even take on small ads. Nora and I worked harder than ever. I was so busy every day, it felt like I was squeezing 2 days into one. Running around, brainstorming ideas, I didn't pay attention to where I was going and got scraped on the leg by a passing bike. Nora helped me up. Are you okay? Before I could answer, Derek had already dashed off like the wind. He came back with an armful of medicine and was immediately teased by Nora. Still catching his breath, Derek looked at me with bright eyes. Can I? Derek, what? Me, to apply the medicine for you. In the end, I didn't let Derek help me. I found a chair nearby and dealt with it myself. The shoot ended earlier than planned, and Derek insisted on driving me home. The car crawled like a tortoise, with Derek nervously glancing around. I didn't call him out on it. A trip that normally took half an hour stretched into an hour and a half before we finally arrived. When we got out, he quickly rushed around to open my door, naturally steadying me with his hand. Thanks. As I turned around, I paused. Gavin was leaning against the wall, his gaze fixed straight on me. His face was pale, and his lips moved slightly. He took a step closer. Derek noticed something was off and leaned down to ask, someone you don't like? Yes. I walked past Gavin as though he didn't exist, but he grabbed the hem of my shirt. I looked at him with a cold, dead expression. He snapped back to reality and let go of my shirt immediately. His eyes shifted to my foot. Did you apply the medicine? My response was silence. The door closed in front of him, just as it had countless times before, without a word. Inside, the sound of stir-frying came from the kitchen. My mom's eyes lit up when she saw Derek. Stay for dinner, Derek. He hesitated and glanced at me. I nodded. We've got enough for you. His smile widened, revealing faint dimples at the corners of his mouth. I asked, aren't you curious about who he is? I have a guess, he said as he walked inside. But it doesn't matter. He leaned in closer to me. You said he's someone you hate, which means now, he's someone who doesn't matter. After dinner, it was already 9 o'clock. My mom asked me to walk Derek downstairs. The moment I opened the door, her smile disappeared. Standing out here at this hour, scaring people. Derek's gaze fell on Gavin, and he smiled faintly. Goodbye. I walked him to his car and reminded him to drive safely. Suddenly, someone grabbed my hand. Derek pulled me into a light hug, his voice soft against my ear. A hug between friends, is that okay? You already went ahead and did it. Sorry. Derek was abruptly yanked away by Gavin, who grabbed him by the collar, fist raised like a raging beast. Gavin. He froze, his eyes red. I couldn't understand the look on his face. He was the one who wanted to separate, yet now he looked like this. Derek chuckled, a mixture of disdain and amusement. Should I call the police? Gavin wasn't giving up. Who is he? Your boyfriend? We've already broken up, Gavin. I know. His voice trembled, tears falling one by one as he mumbled incoherently. But I regret it. I regret it. But I don't. My refusal was straightforward. I don't regret breaking up with you, and I won't regret leaving North City. I'll never look back. Whether I have a boyfriend, whether it's him or someone else, who I marry in the future, it has nothing to do with you. Because that person will never be you. The sword of Damocles finally fell. The hope in Gavin's eyes shattered completely. That night, Gavin didn't linger downstairs anymore. 2 months later, late one night, I received a text from him. "Can we meet one last time to say goodbye?" This time, I replied, "Okay." Outside, light snow had begun to fall, blanketing everything in white. Unknowingly, it felt like the year was drawing to an end. An ending, and a beginning. We arranged to meet at a nearby cafe. The snow had piled thick on the ground, and the sanitation workers were already up early clearing it. When I stepped out, the only marks on the road were tire tracks. The snow on the sidewalk hadn't been cleared yet. The surface had frozen over. I kicked it lightly, and the seemingly solid snow scattered instantly. I chuckled. But my smile froze quickly. Not far away, Gavin stood, his deep gaze fixed on me. For a moment, I felt like I was back in high school. In the snowy winters, my favorite thing to do was build snowballs and kick them away. Gavin would open the window and shout, "My mom says you should come over for dinner." "Got it." I'd smile, turn back, and run inside. I walked closer, and Gavin sighed softly in my ear. For a moment, I thought we were back in the past. He curved his lips bitterly. "But this time, it's to say goodbye." We sat at opposite ends. I ordered a coffee and checked the time. "I only have an hour." "About the diary." "I'm sorry." He sat down. "I'm really sorry. I don't care about that anymore." If. His hands fidgeted nervously. "If the diary hadn't been an issue, would we?" "There's no if." I interrupted him. "Even without the diary, we wouldn't have worked out." "I've always had a question." His face was full of confusion. "After all the years we've been together, why didn't you even give me a chance?" "Let me ask you something," I suppressed the irritation rising within me. "Why did you get together with me in the first place?" He didn't answer. "To repay me for saving you." I summarized the absurd reason. "Who do you think you are?" I smiled faintly. "What makes you think your love is some kind of gift to me?" "Just because I liked you?" I stirred my coffee and let out a small laugh. "Love might be beautiful, but it's not powerful enough to ruin someone's life. Even without you, I would have continued living just fine. I cared about you because I thought you were worth it." I paused and chuckled again. "But your love, it wasn't the same." Gavin shot to his feet, flustered, as if he wanted to explain but didn't know where to start. "It's not about the diary or Eric," I said calmly. "It's about your condescending attitude, which you disguised as tolerance. You disrespected me. But my fault was not ending things sooner." I looked him in the eye. "When you allowed your friends to treat me so poorly, I should have realized that we were over. This is the last time we'll see each other, Gavin. For your mother's sake." I stood, grabbing my bag as he scrambled to his feet. "Let's not meet again, Gavin." I walked out without looking back. As the door closed behind me, my phone rang. Nora's voice came through, urging, "Are you done? We're waiting for you at dinner. If you don't hurry, someone might come drag you over." I smiled slightly. On my way. In March, I received a request from a little girl. It was the time of year when the weather alternates between warmth and chill, and she was dressed in thin clothes. Her left eye looked strange, almost as if she had lost vision in it. On the busy street, she stopped us and asked, "Sister, can you make friends here?" "I want to make friends." The little girl's name was Polly. Her parents died in a car accident when she was very young, and she was raised by her grandmother. Her grandmother often scolded her, calling her a bad omen and neglecting her, viewing her left eye as a bad sign. The other children would also bully her. "No one likes me," she said quietly. Because of this request, we began looking around at various elementary schools. In the end, we found a girl at Linney Primary School. The girl had a sweet smile, like a little sunshine. As we brought Polly over, she bounced along happily. Her parents, walking beside her, smiled helplessly. "She's been spoiled since she was little," they said. Then, as if worried we might misunderstand, her mother added, "But there's nothing wrong with that." "That's right, there's nothing wrong with that. Whether she's lively or quiet, isn't that still her?" The two little girls met, and within 15 minutes, they were already inseparable. The girl lowered her head and said seriously, your eye isn't ugly at all. They just don't know how to see. From today, I'm your friend. I responded the same way, I am too. Nora said, me too. The girl's mother squatted down and patted her head. My home isn't far from here. If you miss Mavis, you can come over. I'll make you something delicious. As we were about to leave, I said to Polly, don't pay too much attention to what people who don't like you say. What they say isn't important. What matters is that you know who you really are. I had once read a quote in a Sophie Tanner book. I wish to be my closest lover, my loyal comrade. Self-respect, self-love, self-confidence, all my life, unwavering till death. The little girl didn't quite understand, so I smiled and hugged her. You are a very, very good person. I didn't post this story right away. I told Nora that I still had a bonus video to record. Later, while editing at home, I heard a car honk outside. Derek picked up the phone and said, Ruth, come downstairs. We hadn't seen each other for almost a week. During that time, he had started at a new company and had to fly abroad for work, staying busy without a break. When I came downstairs, he was opening the trunk of his car. When he saw me, he waved. The trunk was filled with various snacks he had collected from abroad. He handed me a few boxes, but most of them he kept for himself. His tone was casual, these are for regular friends. I couldn't help but laugh. He raised his chin slightly and said, friend, lead the way. Our relationship had never moved beyond friendship, and he didn't mind at all. Once again, I couldn't resist asking, did you like me back then? I wasn't even aware of it then. He shifted closer to me. I really wanted to be friends with you. But you transferred schools not long after, and I was really upset. Back then, Derek was small and insecure, always walking with his head down. Ruth, on the other hand, always walked with her head held high, deflecting the malicious comments she didn't deserve. At 13, Derek thought, I want to be friends with Ruth. But during those years, he never dared to take the next step. The day he found out she transferred, Derek locked himself in his room and cried. He never told Ruth that, when they crossed paths again at 23 due to business, she didn't recognize him. But he recognized her immediately. Later, when he had a falling out with his boss and returned to his hometown, he heard Ruth was back. The first thing he did was make a move. He was so eager to be friends with her. After spending time with Ruth, the fog cleared, and he saw a more real and brave side of her. His feelings for her weren't love at first sight, they were the kind that developed over time. A seed planted in middle school had, after years, taken root and blossomed. Ruth was a little shocked. I didn't know someone would want to be friends with me back then. Derek tilted his chin, looking at her. You shine with your own light, and people who are on the same wavelength will always be drawn to you. He was grateful for fate's twists and turns that allowed him and Ruth to meet again. Ruth said to take things slowly. He thought that was fine. Because he didn't like fast-paced relationships either. Extra. After parting with Ruth at the cafe, Gavin never messaged her again. Years of their relationship had turned into this, and whenever he thought of it, his heart would hurt. But the one who caused all of this was him. After Eric's incident with her, Gavin had a huge fight with him. He didn't understand why Eric's malice toward her was so intense, like a dog viciously biting her and not letting go. It wasn't until Eric kept repeating, then why don't you get her back? What's so great about South City, why should she stay there, that Gavin felt something different in Eric's twisted words. He squinted his eyes and asked, you like her? Eric stiffened, then habitually sneered, I'd like that fat. You like her, Gavin said, certain now. Eric stopped pretending and finally snapped, so what? Why does she always look at me like I'm trash? If she'd just say one nice thing to me, I'd stop bullying her. When Gavin heard this, it was hard to believe, and even harder to swallow his regret. He had allowed this poisonous snake to tear Ruth apart for years. But she disgusts you, Gavin muttered. Doesn't she disgust you? Eric shot back. I'm not like you. Gavin's expression hardened as he stepped closer. I have feelings for her. But to Ruth, it's all the same. Gavin didn't pay much attention to that remark. He went to Ruth's hometown, obsessively waiting downstairs in front of her building. He wanted to tell Ruth that he liked her. He had broken up with Sharon and didn't love her at all. He wanted to know if they could start over. But Ruth didn't give him that chance. Just as Eric had said, Ruth found him repulsive too. After Ruth left, Gavin sat in the cafe for a long time. When he finally stepped out, he felt lost, unsure of where to go. He and Ruth no longer had a home. No matter which way he turned, none would lead back to Ruth. He forced himself to stop thinking about her, throwing himself into work until he ended up in the hospital from exhaustion. In the hospital room, he opened Ruth's social media account. She had just posted a new video. There was an Easter egg in one of the videos. It was a message Ruth had written. To the dear girl. Hello, what are you doing right now? Are you buried in your studies, or rushing through the bustling city? Are you a student, or a mom? How are you? Are you happy? No matter what role you're playing, I just want to say to you today, you are really amazing. I used to be a weightlifter, with a strong body but a look the world didn't consider pretty. I've heard people talk about me and belittle me, but none of that defines me. In the past, I always tried to stand up straight. I thought, what do they know? I can train, gain weight, and practice day after day. I'm proud of who I am. Likewise, I hope you can be proud of yourself. After college, I joined a big company and worked in marketing for a few years. When I resigned, I struggled with the decision for a while, but eventually, I chose to quit. I went back to my hometown and decided to take a break for a while. I'm lucky. It was at this time that I suddenly realized that life's margin for error is much bigger than I thought. When you find you've taken a wrong turn, just turn back. It's more important to change direction than to stubbornly keep going. Of course, if you don't turn back, that's okay too. Who knows, the next moment might be the light at the end of the tunnel. Dear girl, I hope you are proud of yourself. I hope you love yourself, just like I love myself. I am satisfied with who I am. Gavin replayed the video over and over, almost self-torturing himself. The pain inside became clearer. He remembered the cold look she gave him that day. You look down on me. She was never weak. It was him who had always avoided his problems by running away with his emotions. That night, he dreamed it was snowing. The girl had just finished making snowballs and ran straight into his arms. Ruth, he murmured. The girl looked up at him, her eyes bright and warm. Goodbye. In the dream, he said goodbye to her for the last time. In the dream, it was the most beautiful season in the world. Outside the dream, things and people have changed for many years. He should have said goodbye gracefully many, many years ago. He understood it too late. He let down a girl for many years. End of full text.